Half Size Me episode 722, brought to you by the amazing Half Size Me Academy. To join us, please go to halfsizeme.com/join. All right, lovely listeners, today you're going to get to hear from the person who helped kind of inspire me to finally put together the program I'm releasing in January called From Frustrated to Freedom, Your Personalized Weight Loss Plan. I was inspired by Gay because she came on as a coaching client. She had been in our academy a long time ago. She had actually been interviewed for the show a long time ago, and she came into some hardship. Her husband had passed away. Her binge eating had come back, and she wanted to get some coaching. And as I was coaching her and I was walking her through the paper pencil journal and how to use it to help diffuse her binging, she openly admitted to me something that so many people tell me, which is, I tried doing the paper pencil journal, but I ended up stopping because I didn't think it was working, or I didn't know how to do it, or I wasn't sure if I was doing it correctly. And once I got her rocking and rolling with it, she noticed an immediate release of the binge eating problem. She noticed herself being able to get in a calorie deficit. And because I see so much crazy success with people when they do the process correctly, and they don't just use it as a glorified way to track calories, or they don't use it appropriately, because then the magic in it is the self-awareness. It's the noticing patterns. It's the fixing problems. It's actually diffusing the willpower struggle by putting everything on the left side of your paper. Often people hear that, they hear it on the show, and Gay did. She heard me tell other people, and she says, yeah, but for me, and see, and that's how your mind does it, right? It constantly says somehow you're different than all these other people that come on. But because I had heard this so many times, I thought, you know what? I can't coach everybody one-on-one. I have this great tool that if I could teach you how to use it appropriately, could really help you get unlocked and unstuck. So I'm going to put together a 4-week workshop group where that is all we focus on: how to use this tool correctly, the supportive habits that go along with it, and how to carry it forward with you, and kind of the mindset that needs to be around it. So for 4 weeks, you're going to be receiving lessons from me on how to use it appropriately. During this 4 weeks, there'll be a call where I will answer your questions. And that way, if you don't understand something, if you're finding yourself stuck, it'll be a way for you to get direct help and to walk through that process. But I wanted to kind of bridge the gap, and I've got the videos on YouTube. I've talked about it a gajillion times, but I really want to teach it in a more thorough way to help you create a program for you, by you, that will not keep you stuck. See, what most people do come January is they just jump into whatever sounds good in the moment, but they have no clue where they're even starting from. So if this program is wanting to eat 1,500 calories and you're eating on average 3,500, you might white knuckle it through a couple weeks and may get yourself at that point, but eventually you're going to get frustrated and you're going to quit. And then the whole cycle keeps repeating. And I just don't want you to be there, quite honestly. I'd rather teach you a tool that you can keep coming back to. It can grow with you as you grow in the process. What's super cool is I have clients, they get their food down, they get their weight going in the right direction, and then they'll use this tool for other things. I have one client, she's building in financial, she wants to work on her finances. So now she's using her PPJ to do that. It's a really good self-coaching tool if you use it correctly. And so that's going to be the point of this 4-week workshop that I'm going to be doing, From Frustrated to Freedom. After you listen to this episode with Gay, if it feels like something you want to do during the new year to change it up and not do the same old, then please go to halfsizeme.com/freedom. Put your email in. You'll be one of the first to be notified when we start to sell seats for the workshop. And that'll be beginning on January 2nd. You guys have a great week. Enjoy this call with Gay, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, lovely listeners. Today I have one of my coaching clients with us. Her name is Gay, and I brought Gay on today because she kind of was the big motivation for me to put together the program From Frustrated to Freedom, learning how to use the paper pencil journal. So Gay, would you mind saying hello to everybody, and then maybe kind of tell everyone where you were at prior to us starting this process? Because I know you had asked about coaching, and then I finally got you worked in. So just kind of bring everybody up to speed on what was going on for you. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go back a little ways. I didn't work with Heather, but I was a part of the community back like 2016 to 2018. Did fairly well with what she was teaching at that point. The paper pencil journal wasn't part of it. Kind of did my own thing, up and down some weight, never regained everything. But this past year, I could just see things going in a major downward spiral. With the binge eating, I couldn't get it back under control. I had some major life changes that was just getting to me a lot. And the binge eating was just taking over and the weight gain was coming back. So I reached out to Heather just to see if she'd be interested in coaching, or if I could get in to be coached.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So when you first reached out to me, this was during our consultation call. One of the first things we said was we were going to start to write the binge eating on the left side of your paper pencil journal. And when you started doing that process, what did you start to notice was shifting about your binge eating by writing that down every day?
It was just phenomenal to put it out there that it's an option on that left side of the paper. My brain just stopped even thinking about it. I'd say maybe since we started in mid-July, there's been 5 times that the brain kind of wanted to think about it, but I always went back to that paper pencil journal and just looked at my options that I did have and would choose something that was already on there.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were in the heyday of all the binge eating prior to us, we're talking in September, at the end of September. So it's been so we started in July. So it's August, September. So it's been about 2 months, right? Yeah. So before that, what was the binge eating like? What were you facing kind of on a weekly basis?
Weekly, it had just gotten so bad mentally, I guess. I'd start off really good. I always held together my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner, my snacks, everything that I've always learned and always did. But It was that evening after dinner, I would just okay, what's in the cupboard? What can I eat? What can I eat? What can I keep eating? What can I keep eating? It got to the point, I remember talking to you that very first phone call because I had spoken with a therapist and she's like, well, don't have those things in your cupboard. It's okay, I've already gotten rid of every single saltine, cracker, chips. Yeah. It's I was still finding peanut butter, jelly, anything, pretzels, it just got to the point where I was still just on the hunt for whatever there was. And it's no, I got to have food in my house.
You're you open up the pantries and there's nothing. But yeah, so, and every time we would do one of these conversations and we would start to bring certain things in, I could tell you were a little apprehensive, right? Because I'm okay, well, we're going to bring the Triscuits in. We're going to get the individual little pots of peanut butter. We're going to bring in the Cheerios, all these kind of quote unquote forbidden foods. And we started using the PPJ to start putting those on the left as intentional snacks and treats, right? And how did that feel different? Because it would be terrifying to have gotten rid of, because I've worked with people and I don't know if this was ever how quote unquote bad off you got. I'd have clients who would binge on anything, mayonnaise, it wouldn't matter. There would be literally no food in their house. So that it can get that extreme. And so what did it feel like when you started putting those things in to actually eat quote unquote normally?
At first, it scared me. The very first thing that you mentioned was in my plain yogurt, instead of my 100-calorie nuts that I would throw on it, you had said, well, you like cereal. Somebody you knew loved to put cereal in their yogurt. And I'm I don't know if this is going to work. Plain yogurt, honey, and just plain Cheerios. At first I put almost a serving. I'm okay, a little too much. I backed it down, but it's one of my favorite snacks now. The lime Tostito chips were just a downfall. I love them on a salad now, crunched up on a salad. You had mentioned that. I think I eat it that way more than like with my little cup of guac that I, get. It just putting these foods in different places is keeping me more satiated, as far as having those snacks, that I kept saying no to. The Triscuits, I actually have 2 full boxes that I haven't packaged down yet. I bought them 2 days ago. They're not open, but I actually went for one of the flavored ones this time. But the individual bags have really helped, with just grabbing the bag and not taking the whole box with me and saying, oh, I can eat. There's not that many left in here. And half a box later, they're gone. It really scared me to begin with. Like, I don't know if I can bring these into the house, but having them in there and planning it ahead of time, like sitting down and planning out in the morning where I'm going to put it in or where I have the option of putting it in.
Right. Right.
And all those different snacks, not feeling that I have to sit and eat my 12 items I've got on there. I don't even feel like eating them most of the time, but they're there for me to choose from.
100%. And in this, so I saw how beautifully you were doing with this. And I knew you had followed me for so long. You had been in the academy or the community a long time ago. And I asked you this question, and I ask it of everyone. All my coaching clients, I get them doing this. We get these problem areas resolved. And I'll say to them, you've heard me talk about this on the show before, right? Like you've heard me talk about the paper pencil journal. You've heard me tell people put the stuff on the left and And everyone says, yes, I heard it. And most of them even say, I tried it. That's what I hear. I tried it, but I couldn't make it work. Like there's something about it, whether it's the mind talking to them and saying, no, you can't do that. It's okay for this person, but it's not okay for you. You can't be trusted with the Triscuits, so we can't do that part of it. There's all these like restrictions, or there can be logistic reasons why somebody thinks they can't do it. Like, oh, I don't want to carry this notebook around with me all day. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. This doesn't work. And so what I do in one-on-one coaching is I actually help people blend it into what works for them. But I asked you that question. I said, did you ever try my paper pencil journal? And you said, yes, you said the same thing. And then you said, but it didn't work. So can you share a little bit about that? What, now having worked with me doing it, what do you see different from when you tried it on your own and this go around?
I'd have to say, for the most part, when I listen to the podcast, it's in the car, like I'm in the middle of something. I wasn't, sitting down. I did go through the YouTube ones and actually took notes and then tried it. I think the piece that got me hung up is that binge eating at the end of the day. Like I wasn't focusing in as much on that. I was laying out my day all the way till the end. I was giving myself the snack options and so forth. I don't think I was really focusing in on that binge eating, those options that are in my house that I could binge eat on at some point. So I believe that's what was getting me that. And, same sort of thing. Like I didn't want it, being out there, being the focus. Now, I've talked about it with my daughter. I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm finally opening up more about like my binge eating, like over this last year, just the struggle I was having and just saying, hey, this is working for me now versus being more embarrassed of it.
100%. Yeah. So what I think I hear is there was a disconnect. You were treating it kind of like a MyFitnessPal, but on paper, if I'm hearing you right. Like you were laying out your ideal day, which really isn't the purpose of this tool, right? Like the whole purpose, I always think of this tool as being it's a self-coaching guide where if you use it appropriately, one, your problematic behavior, whether it's binging, grazing, whatever it is, that really should be the focal point. That should be the thing that you're focusing the most on. Like right now, you haven't binged in quite a while. but you
No.
every day write your binge foods down, right?
Yeah.
Because you and I had a long conversation about that as long as those lower brain thoughts can exist, we just put it down, because what's the harm in that? It hurts nothing. You choose not to do it. Stars, great. You did eat something off that list, you give a check, but you can see that you don't have to go all the way. Like, it gives you the option to correct the day if you so choose. But I think if you treat it like a MyFitnessPal on paper, it serves no purpose for you. And that's one of the reasons I put this program together, From Frustrated to Freedom, because I want people to get the full benefit out of it. And really, it's about the problem behaviors and about building in better behaviors that you want to do intentionally, which is really cool for you, because there was a couple things that was kind of, or at least one big thing that was causing you not to be tracking 100% of the time. And that's very common for so many people, which is unsure of what you're going to eat. Like, you don't really know. I'm going to a restaurant, I'm going to somebody's house, I don't know. And because you probably were scared to see the calories and what was going to happen. And so we talked about using the plate method with the paper pencil. And how has that kind of helped you become more consistent and basically not missing a day of tracking?
It has helped phenomenally. I went on a 4-day weekend to Texas to see family. And I remember talking to you about it and the plate method. We'd already talked about it a little bit with restaurants and so forth. Like, instead of like going in and just saying, I'm going to have a salad and this, like, do it more like the protein, the veggie, a starch or carb, lay it out. I went to Texas unknown anything as far as food. I took some of my snacks that I had with me, protein bar, pretzels, that sort of thing. But went into it every day, still putting my items down, giving myself grace for that piece of cake for a birthday celebration that we did for 2 days, and I ended up coming home and maintaining, it just, and I tracked, like, I put it down there, what I thought, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, a couple alcohol drinks each day. And it was crazy how it worked and coming home and maintaining, but it was always the plate method. Like, I'll do the protein, and it worked out good.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal that you've done. And like, we're preparing for you to go to New York, right? And we're preparing for you had one other event coming up too, where we were talking through using that technique in combination with your paper pencil journal. So you were so funny, because you're like, oh, I think I've got the most accurate data I've had in a really long time, because what you did is what most people do, right? If you go out to a restaurant, I have no idea, I'll just skip that meal and I'll guesstimate the best I can. And you're still going to do a level of guesstimating, but by having, and this is again where the paper pencil journal is completely different than just pre-tracking. It's you're setting boundaries. You're saying, okay, I am going to have an appetizer, but I'm just going to have 1 plate of appetizers. I am going to have 2 alcoholic drinks, but that's where I'm going to cap it. And you're setting intentions in different categories, so that way you hold yourself more accountable. Whereas if you go in and speak to this, because I would love to hear your thoughts, when you know you're really not going to track that meal at all, because you're going to say, well, I have no idea what it was, and I'm just going to kind of wing it tonight. How is that different than putting some kind of a plan on paper?
I don't know. That it's different because...
So let me ask this question, because you were shocked that you didn't gain weight when you came back from Texas. So if you had the thought process, I'm not going to bother worrying about any of this, I'm just gonna go for it, and I'll deal with the repercussions. What happens different with your weight when you don't do the plate method versus when you do?
I would have came back up, for those few days, probably brought it back down. But the brain, I know, as far as like appetizers or cake or, everything that I had laid out on the pencil paper journal, if I didn't do that, I probably would have went for 2 pieces of cake.
Yeah.
I would have went for unhealthy options when it came to the appetizers on the day of the birthday celebration instead of, and I would have, as I'm going to the restroom, I'll have another, plate to take out to the pool, that sort of thing, instead of just doing one small appetizer plate with the options that I wanted and just being okay with it versus grazing back and forth, that sort of thing.
100%. And that's why I added that in as a component, because so many clients, when they go on vacation, when they travel, one of the biggest obstacles is I'm uncertain of what's going to be offered. I'm uncertain what I'm going to choose. And because of that, they set no boundaries. They'll just eat everything and anything and hope to record it as best they can. But by pre-thinking the meal and agreeing with yourself that this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to have 2 pieces of cake, or I'm going to have 3 glasses of wine. You get to set the parameters, but you're setting them intentionally versus documenting the food reactively. Like, oh man, I did it again. I did all these things and now I got to try to recall them and I have to try to track them. It makes it so much more difficult for the person that's on the trip, and they just don't want to bother doing it.
Yeah. And that's one thing, I don't think I talked about it, but the whole mental piece, even like going to bed feeling like crap, and sleeping and then waking up in the morning and go, what did I do yesterday? With that binge eating, it just, okay, Gay, you're going to do better. You're going to do better. And it just, a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. Yeah. And that's why the paper pencil journal is set up the way it is. Because first thing in the morning, you're writing, we'll call it your worst possible day on paper. Like it's all the things you don't want to see yourself doing, which is why people are so resistant to doing it. But what you start to see is when you actually do that, you then are looking at worst case scenario. So you can actually improve from there, which is completely different than how most people are wired to handle this and why they stay stuck in that vicious cycle. And that's one of the reasons that you motivated me. I'd heard this so many times. I've seen so many clients get better with their binge eating, get better with their impulse eating, get to where they're tracking consistently. And it's always because it's like a misuse of the tool. And so I want to help people better use it. And one thing I love about your story, because we're doing it right now, is you had the false belief, which so many people do, that if I am crazy about watching my calories all day long, I will actually be better at adhering to them, right? And so one of the things I often suggest to people using the paper pencil journal is write the plan down, document everything on the right side. And often for most people, it's much more helpful to track calories the next day. We didn't start there with you. We stepped you into it. But what have you seen through that process of going from somebody who is kind of watching her calories all day to now tracking them the next morning?
The first time, a couple times that you had me do it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm way over, or thinking that in the evening, I kept looking at that number before you had me like ignore MyFitnessPal. I would go through, my journal, look at what I had left, look at my calories and go, oh, I still have like 300 calories. I'd be sitting around 16 or 1700. And I usually try, around 1900. So I would go and eat something just because I had room in MyFitnessPal. Now I'm finding like doing the paper pencil journal and relying on that my calories some days are in the 1600s and I'm not dying. I'm not going to bed starving. I get up in the morning, I track, or as I'm laying in bed at night, I'm like, oh, I'll track now, put my phone down, stay in bed. I've never been one to get up out of bed and snack. And so it's remarkable that I'm okay eating less calories than what MyFitnessPal, when I was just doing MyFitnessPal and saying, well, you've got room, go eat something else, And then also, like yesterday, I went to dinner and I got a hamburger. I didn't eat the whole bun, that sort of thing. And I got a side salad with it, tracked my calories. It was 2,000. Mentally, I feel okay with that now versus if I would have looked at it last night, I may have went, okay, what did you do? But today, I guess that scale piece too, hopping on the scale this morning, it's like, oh, I didn't gain 5 pounds overnight because I had that burger, so it's all like coming together.
I love that. And what's so funny is, and this is just very common especially for women, they will say to me, oh, well, and you said this too, if I'm not tracking calories, should I just expect I won't be in a deficit and I won't be losing weight? Like, should I have that expectation? Or should I just say, okay, I'm probably in a maintenance phase because I'm doing this approach? And you said the same thing to me. And what has been kind of interesting for you in the 2 weeks so far that you've been doing it?
The interesting thing is looking the last 2 weeks at my calories, I've averaged right around the 1800s, so it's working. And the weight is coming down. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I figured I'd just be maintaining this whole time. I didn't think I'd be losing weight with that method.
You were shocked. Yeah, I know. When you said that at first, I'm like, well, wait, let's see what happens. But I get where that's coming from. It's like, if I'm not super hyper focused on it all day long, I'm probably going to overshoot every single day. Like, that's a very common thought. And then when you actually see it, and what I actually have found through time and trial and error is, the more you stick to what's on the left, meaning your intentional meals, your intentional snacks and treats, not your binging and all that, but like the thing that you would prefer to stick to. Most people, if they do that, they would see progress on the scale. That's usually not the culprit for why we don't lose. It's because of the binging. It's because of the grazing or eating impulsively at different times, right? It's that kind of stuff that adds a 200 calories here, a 300 calorie there, or if it's a binge, 500 to 1,000 plus, right? That's why most people are not. And one interesting thing, I just want to mention this before we wrap up. You had one night that you said you felt that real strong urge that had been there before, that binge urge. And I think you ate, was it chocolate chips, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. And you said you counted them up, you tracked it, but it was like still very small compared to what a normal binge would have been like for you. How did that experience feel to journal it when you had that, all those binge foods already written out? Like, how did that feel different than what you were doing before?
The mind was just wanting to race that night. I guess something that felt different was the fact that I'm like, okay, you're going to the cupboard. Mm-hmm. In the past, I mean, for years, even, years and years, a binge, I never weighed, I never measured, I never tracked a binge, ever, ever, ever. Mm-hmm. And this time when I went to the cupboard, I'm like, oh, I'll just have some chocolate chips. And mm-hmm. I did. I measured, I want to say it was like 6 to 8 grams of chocolate chips. And then I came back, I wrote it down, I tracked it, and I highlighted it, and it was on there. But it was on there like with peanut butter, so I just chose a smaller item versus a free for all, like, a big scoop of peanut butter and chocolate chips.
Right.
So it calmed me just mm-hmm. having those chocolate chips.
Yeah. And what you did was awesome because you knew that you had your list of binge foods written out, and this is what it would have normally looked like for you. So even just by tracking that so many grams of chocolate chips, you could see the improvement in your behavior. Like, to your point, it could have included peanut butter, it could have included Triscuits, it could have included all these other things, right? And it was just one thing. And that, even though you had that urge, even though you felt that way, you still were able to interject some level of control and to make a better decision.
Yeah, yeah. Because in the past, I would have done the chocolate chips with peanut butter, and then I would have wanted the salty. Then I would have turned around and probably made a whole peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then went back to something salty. It just, yeah, the sweet was good enough, and to record it. And I did put it in my binge area. I probably could have put it up in my snack area, but I'm like, the brain was just starting to want to really go to that binge.
Yeah. And I think it's actually in that one case, I think that's actually more helpful for you because I think it shows you what your binges were prior. And then now when that voice kicks in and that urge feeling kicks in, you can see how much better you did in comparison, right? Because had you and I not been working together, had you not had that time with doing this procedure, let's be honest, it probably would have been everything on the left, right? It would have been that full list of foods based on what you had been doing up to that point.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if I remember right, that's the night I went to dinner and what I chose was not the best option. It was an okay meal.
Yeah.
Had a glass of wine, came home and was like, man.
Yeah. I always tell that to people when you're unsatisfied with your food, often that does lead to binging because you feel like you missed out, right? So better to actually order the meal you want, get that burger like you did last night, enjoy it, be at 2,000 calories versus getting something that's kind of ho-hum, coming home and eating another 1,000 calories of binge food. Exactly. Let's just have it be a reasonable day. So Gay, for anybody who maybe they've been listening about the paper pencil journal, they've got some problematic eating, or they want to have a better relationship with food, is there anything you might say to them about learning this process compared to where you were, what you understood versus how you use it now and how it looks different to you?
The main thing that I've learned is, I kind of talked about it. Don't be embarrassed by it. I leave it out on the counter now, and check it off and do things. Let it work and let it, I'm trying to think how to say it. Let it, try it. At first, I remember that first call with Heather, it was just like, I kind of went, the paper pencil journal, I don't know. I've tried it, but that day I got off the phone and I just went through what you said, and it's just crazy how what you taught me with that binge eating portion and how it actually has helped me tremendously. I just feel lighter. My brain feels lighter. I don't feel like I'm in that vicious cycle of, nope, going to eat healthy today and then go back to the binge. I put a couple days together, and just the freedom of the choices, you had me because I said, a peanut butter and jelly. I've never had that for lunch, and you're like, why, and it's like, I can't, and I had the peanut butter and jelly and I'm like, oh my God, this tastes so much better than when I binge at it, on it 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's just like the flavor. It was just like, oh my gosh, my mouth's watering thinking about a peanut butter and jelly now. But it's like, why can't you,
and you had French toast the other night and you passed on salmon. You're like, I really want the French toast. And I said, go ahead and have the French toast. And you were like shocked the next day you track the calories. You're like, actually, and that's the thing that's really cool. Your mind has a lot to say about everything you do with food and calories and all this, whether you're eating too much, you're eating too little, you shouldn't be eating that, you should be eating this. And what's cool about this is it starts to open you up to seeing all of that and starting to see that a lot of it's not even true. true. And I think that's kind of the magic of it as well. When you stop doing it the way you've always done it and you start to go based on you and your behaviors and make a program that's like for you, by you, because that's all this can be, then it actually allows you to become aware of, oh, wow, I never would have thought that would have happened, but I'm looking at the proof, and that often can really be the thing that stops this vicious cycle that we all are in when it comes to food and certain behaviors. So thank you so much, Gay. I really appreciate it. And like I said, what you said to me that day, I had heard so many times, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put a program together and I'm going to spend like 4 weeks just working with people on this so they can learn how to use it correctly, because I'll be there to answer the questions, teach the material, make sure this is what we're focusing on intensely for 4 weeks. And I think it will help people not fall into that. I tried it on my own. I think I did it, but really I'm just doing food tracking on paper. And that's really not the point of this tool. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your day today to talk to us about it.
Not a problem. I hope it helps others. Like I said, just the options, the freedom, the choices, I'm enjoying that part of it.
Thank you so much, my dear. You have a great day, okay?
Thanks, you too.
All right. I am going to log off because I have another call set up, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this, Gay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. You have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to visit halfsizeme.com. Check back often for your daily dose of inspiration, because you are worth it.
The information you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The host is not a medical professional. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.